All right, let's get right into it. We are about to pull back the curtain on a car that didn't just turn heads. It completely rewrote the rulebook for what a high-performance car could even be. This is the incredible secret story of the Lamborghini Miura.
So picture this, it's 1966, and this thing rolls onto the scene. It was like a spaceship had just landed among horse-drawn carriages. Seriously. The Lamborghini Miura wasn't just another new fast car. It was a total revolution. It created a whole new category of automobile out of thin air.
And look, that's not just me saying it. People call it the inflection point. This was the moment the modern supercar was truly born. The second it came out, it became the fastest production car in the entire world. A huge statement from a company that had only been around for a few years.
But here's where the story gets really interesting. This game-changing car, it was designed and built in total secret. Its own creators were working against the wishes of the company's founder. Which leads to the big question, why? Why would they do that?
Well, to get that answer, we've got to go back to the beginning, to the man who started it all, Ferruccio Lamborghini. Now, this guy was a genius industrialist who'd made a fortune building, of all things, tractors. He absolutely loved fast cars, but he had a very, very specific idea of what a Lamborghini car should be.
And this right here, this is the heart of the conflict. You see, after a legendary argument with Enzo Ferrari, Ferruccio decided he would build the perfect grand touring car. Something powerful, yes, but also comfortable, luxurious, and refined. Definitely not a race car. But his young engineers, they had a totally different dream. They wanted to build a road car with the soul of a race car. We're talking two polar opposite ideas under the same roof.
And out of that clash of visions came a secret after-hours project. It was led by a small team of brilliant young rebels who basically decided, you know what, we're going to do it anyway. They were going to chase this wild idea, whether the boss liked it or not.
And this was the crew, the triumvirate as they're known. You had two absolute genius engineers, Dall'Era and Stanzani, and the legendary test driver Bob Wallace. They would work on their prototype, which they called the P400, in their own spare time, at night when no one was looking. Their whole plan was to build a working chassis, and then, hopefully, show it to Ferruccio and convince him their crazy idea was actually brilliant.
And this was their crazy idea, putting the engine right in the middle of the car. Now, today, that sounds pretty standard for a supercar, right? But back then, no way. A mid-engine layout was something you only saw on hardcore, purpose-built race cars. Putting it in a road car was absolutely unheard of, a total game changer.
So, why was this such a big deal? Well, by putting that massive V12 engine right behind the driver, you get nearly perfect weight distribution. That translates to incredible handling that other road cars could only dream of. And to make it all fit, they did something else brilliant. They merged the engine, transmission, and differential into a single compact unit. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a total reinvention of how a performance car was built.
Believe it or not, when Ferruccio finally saw the chassis, he gave him the green light. He figured, hey, it's a great marketing tool. But now they had this revolutionary piece of engineering with no body. And so began a frantic, mad dash to turn that chassis into a work of art just in time for the biggest car show in the world.
Just look at this timeline. It's completely insane. In November of '65, they showed just the bare chassis at a car show, and people go so wild they start placing orders for a car that doesn't even have a body yet. So the design house Bertone and their young star designer Marcello Gandini get tapped for the job. Their deadline? Just a few months to design and build the entire car before its massive debut in Geneva. The pressure must have been unbelievable. So, in this mad scramble to get everything done, the team, they overlook one tiny little detail. With all the focus on the engineering and the design, nobody had actually stopped to check if the giant V12 engine would physically fit inside Gandini's beautiful new bodywork. It didn't. Nope. Can you even imagine that moment of pure panic? The most anticipated car in the world is just days away from its big reveal, and the engine doesn't fit in the engine bay. It's a total disaster.
So what do? They think on their feet. They filled the engine bay with heavy ballast to make the car sit at the right height on its suspension, and they simply locked the engine cover shut for the entire show. Nobody was allowed to look inside. And honestly, that just goes to show how jaw-droppingly beautiful Gandini's design was. Even as a static sculpture with no engine, the Miura was the absolute undisputed star of the show. Okay, so the car is a certified hit, but now they actually have to make it work. And not just work, but work at mind-bending speeds. That massive responsibility fell to one man, the daredevil test driver from New Zealand who wasn't just an employee, he was the very soul of Lamborghini's performance development, the legend Bob Wallace. Wallace's job was unlike any other. He was the official troubleshooter, which meant his job was to take these prototypes out and drive them to their absolute breaking point, usually at night on public roads to dodge the police. And as you can see here, Ferruccio gave him total freedom, carte blanche, the keys to the entire parts warehouse. He could do whatever he wanted to make these cars faster and better.
And with that freedom, he created pure magic. In his own time, Wallace built these absolutely insane one-off specials. The Miura Jota is the most famous, a feather-light, fire-breathing race-spec Miura. The original was tragically lost in a crash, but it was so legendary it inspired a few official factory replicas. These wild, experimental cars are what really cemented Lamborghini's renegade rock-and-roll reputation.
Now, the Miura wasn't just some flash in the pan. As it went into full production, the car didn't stay the same. It was constantly being tweaked, refined, and improved. Over its 7-year production run, it evolved into an even more powerful, more capable, and frankly, more civilized machine.
And this breaks it down perfectly. You start with the P400, the raw original vision, famous for those unique eyelashes around the headlights. Next up was the P400S, which bumped up the power and added some creature comforts like power windows. Frank Sinatra famously owned one of these. And finally, you have the SV. This was the ultimate Miura. It was the most powerful, it had a critical engineering fix to separate the engine and gearbox oil, and you can always spot an SV because it doesn't have the eyelashes and has those awesome, wider rear fenders.
So after all that, how many were actually made? Well, across all those different versions, between 1966 and 1973, only 763 Miuras were ever built. That's it. Its incredible rarity is a huge part of its legend today. So here's the bottom line. It is literally impossible to overstate the Miura's influence. It laid down the blueprint, the mid-engine V12 layout that almost every single supercar since has followed. Which really just leaves us with one final big question. Would the supercar, as we know it today, even exist without this secret, rebellious, and absolutely beautiful machine?